The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 153, and I am Ray Russell bringing you more of October 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation as we cover week number 3 of 5 in a series of this month here, October 88, just the way the dates land, covering 5 weeks of October TV, including going to finish everything up with Saturday night's main event here at the end of the month. But before we can do all of that, just want to thank once again our special guest from last time out, John Paz of the two-man Power Trip Empire. Had a fun time going back and forth with John, talking all about the fall of 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. Great time, great feedback, and hope to have John back again before too long. And in fact, we got other special guests lined up to appear in the upcoming weeks and months here on the Grenade, so stay tuned for that. But this week, guys, we roll back into things with the October 15th edition of the WWF's Superstars of Wrestling. All right, away we go. Superstars, October 15th, tape back September 13th, Indianapolis, Indiana, Market Square Arena. Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura on the call here as we head off to the ring to see ravishing Rick Rude with manager Bobby the Brain Heenan by his side. Rude's opponent this week, David Isley. And Rick Rude going to address the Indiana idiots before he removes his robe to show the ladies what a real sexy man is supposed to look like. And once again, Rick Rude rocking those Cheryl Roberts tights. Cheryl on the crotch, and now Jake Roberts and Damian on the back end. So Jake plastered on the ass of Rick Rude. Just absolutely awesome. As both men really continue to one-up this shit every week here on TV. Now, in so many words, Jesse Ventura on commentary here, he thinks that Jake might be spending too much time with Damian, so perhaps Cheryl wants to spend time with Rude Snake, if you will. Again, I was just paraphrasing, guys. In the ring, we see a backbreaker followed by a snap suplex, top rope fist drop, and then some posing for the ladies in the crowd before Rick Rude putting Isley away with that Rude Awakening neckbreaker. Gonna get the quick win, 1 minute and 13 seconds. And post-match, a kiss follows for a lovely ringside blonde. So ravishing Rick Rude continuing to be a knockout to the ladies, but Jake Roberts has his own knockout in mind called the DDT. As we head off now to Update with Mean Gene Okerlund this week, going to plug the latest edition of the WWF magazine, of course, but also talk about the tag team competition here in the WWF, most specifically the issues ongoing between the Hart Foundation and the Fabulous Rougeaus.
World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's Update.
Hi again, folks. This is Gene Okerlund with Update. The World Wrestling Federation tag team ranks are currently dominated by the champions Demolition. And a veritable plethora of tag team talent is standing by to challenge the title holders. This is all chronicled in the November issue of the WWF magazine. It's on newsstands right now. In the article, the Hart Foundation, much emphasis is given to the Fabulous Rougeaus. And by the way, you should know that Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, still holds the contract for Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Bret the Hitman Hart. But he's been spending a lot of time these days with the Rougeaus. As a matter of fact, the Harts fired the yappy Jimmy Hart as their manager, and summarily, Jimmy Hart has become the manager for Jacques and Raymond Rougeau. It is quite obvious to this reporter that the Harts and the Rougeaus are on a collision course here in the World Wrestling Federation. Jimmy Hart is stirring things up, and nobody does it better.
In the new World Wrestling Federation magazine, the Hart Foundation has the nerve to call us wimps.
Sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us.
And you want to know why, Hart Foundation? We're fabulous all-American boys!
All right, so we hear about Tag Team Champions Demolition, all the challengers waiting in line for them, but also we hear about the Hart Foundation Rougeau brothers feud. Of course, the Rougeaus and Jimmy Hart commenting there. Sticks and stones will break their bones, but words will never hurt them. Starting to push that all-American boys line. Oh, baby. As we also get ourselves a Survivor Series ad.
Co-captains Team Survival. The World Wrestling Federation presents the Survivor Series, where teams of 5 strive to survive. Coming to you live Thanksgiving night, November the 24th, exclusively on pay-per-view.
And get used to those guys. We're going to be seeing a lot of that leading into the big pay-per-view, the Thanksgiving night tradition now. It would seem second annual Survivor Series Richfield Coliseum. But right now it's back to the ring for the Blue Blazer. Owen Hart there in the mask taking on Joe Cruz. And the Blazer going to climb to the top rope, backflip his way into the ring in the beta version of his theme song playing here, which is actually already changed on the house shows. Jesse Ventura, he loves the Masked Man style, refers to Owen as poetry in motion. The Blazer landing a reverse cross body block for a 2 count, delivering a gut-wrench suplex here in the early going. Now Joe Cruz going to come back, choke the Masked Man across the top rope, but as he tries to snap Owen back, the Blazer going to continue with the move, countering it with a backflip, landing at his feet, drop-kicking Cruz through the ropes out to the floor, where Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer, landing a suicide dive all the way into the guardrail. Gotta love it, guys. And then a vertical suplex back inside on poor Joe Cruz, who gets finished off with the Blue Blazer flying high with what else but the moonsault. Gonna get the win. 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Blue Blazer still undefeated here on WWF television. As we continue on, speaking of undefeated on TV, or pretty much in general, the Big Boss Man making his way out next alongside manager Slick. The Boss Man's opponent this week, Jim Evans. And we get an insert promo here from the Boss Man, who loves to make people suffer, and he sees no reason to change. What a badass. And with toothpick in mouth, the Boss Man dominating the matchup here, still rocking the hardware along his belt area here on his pants, the handcuffs, the keys still attached to the Boss Man, but that's okay. He delivers the Spine Buster, followed by his patented Boss Man Slam. Gonna get the quick win, 1 minute and 8 seconds. And why put down the handcuffs when you're gonna use them? Of course, the Boss Man handcuffing Evans to the top rope, beating him down with the nightstick before sending him through the ropes to the outside, and then beats on him some more. Gotta love the Big Boss Man. Trouble ahead for those WWF do-gooders with the Boss Man in town. As we continue on to the event center and Sean Mooney, we're going to hear from the likes of Dino Bravo, along with manager Frenchie Martin, as well as the British Bulldogs.
And indeed, we're back at the WWF Event Center. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney, and some big trouble brewing out there in the World Wrestling Federation between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Canada's strongest man, Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo always knocking the United States. Well, right now, he is standing by with his manager, Frenchie Martin. And I think we know what we can expect from these two.
You know, for weeks and months, I've been carrying this sign that the USA is not okay. But I'll tell you what, it's still not okay. But I'll show you what's okay. This is okay. This is our flag. This is okay, and this is the world's strongest man, whether you like it or not.
That's right. I'm going to teach every one of you out there, especially in the United States of America, to learn respect when the fleur-de-lis comes up, because it's our flag and we're proud of it. Especially you, Jim Duggan. I can't wait to put my hands on you and the red, white, and blue. You know what I think of that, Duggan. I'm going to teach each and every one of you. You understand that?
Well, Canadian strongman Dino Bravo a little worked up there. I guess we better get used to seeing that flag of Quebec. Frenchie Martin says he will be sporting it about in the World Wrestling Federation. You can bet those two are going to run into Hacksaw Jim Duggan. What about tag team competition? The British Bulldogs are standing by right now. Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith.
You know, the British Bulldogs are happy, and Matilda's proud of the British Bulldogs because we're going all around the world, defeating all the opponents the World Wrestling Federation has been putting in the ring with the British Bulldogs. And Matilda herself, she's a big star now because she's got her own doll out. And she told me, tell all your wrestling fans out there, to buy a Matilda doll, bring it to the arenas, and just give her support like she's been giving the British Bulldog support when she's watching us in the ring. Isn't that right, Dynamite?
That's right. Because we have Matilda in our corner, the Bulldogs give it 110% every night. We've wrestled many tag teams, different combinations, and we're ready to go up that ladder and face Demolition anytime. And with Matilda behind us, we can do it, and we can take those belts. Matilda's great. We love Matilda. And don't forget, Matilda's got those little Bulldog dolls out right now.
Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid, they are the British Bulldogs, seen there with their mascot, Matilda. They are very proud of her as well as her new doll out there in the World Wrestling Federation. They are in hot pursuit of the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship. They want a shot at Axe and Smash of Demolition.
USA is not okay, but Quebec is okay, says Bravo and Frenchie Martin. They have words for Hacksaw Jim Duggan, noting that he and all Americans will learn to respect the flag of Quebec. Meanwhile, the British Bulldogs, we see Davey Boy there rocking that new Mohawk mullet deal, almost Eddie Guerrero-esque, shaved on the sides. And even after the recent angle we just saw, we talked about it with John Paz last time out, the angle between the Bulldogs and Demolition on TV, this was a pretty generic promo in general, more so shilling the Matilda stuffed doll in time for the holidays. As we roll on, it's time for Mr. Perfect Vignette number 5. This time, the perfect one, gonna move away from the physicality and show the cerebral side of Curt Hennig here as Mr. Perfect plays a little chess.
But right now, waiting to show you just how perfect he is indeed Mr. Perfect.
You've seen Mr. Perfect in a lot of different situations, and all these situations have been physical. Well, today we're playing a simple game of chess, and for the common man, a mind game, so to say. But for Mr. Perfect, just another day in a perfect life. See, from head to toe and in the mind, I am absolutely perfect. And in the game of chess, such as the game of life, by the way, checkmate, I am absolutely perfect. And now you know why they call me Mr. Perfect.
Well, there you heard it. The perfect move. It was check and mate. Absolutely perfect. As always, Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, making his way to the WWF rings. And now, speaking of rings, we go back to ringside tag team action. Going to see the Hart Foundation, Bret the Hitman Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, take on the team of Rick Gantner and Tom Stone. And if the Harts weren't cool enough to begin with, now with theme music, we talked about that a week or two ago here on the program, the Hart Foundation now rocking that very familiar theme music that we'd hear for almost the next decade before it would get changed up a little for the Hitman. And we even get an insert promo here from the Harts, who have not forgotten that Jimmy Hart and now his Rougeau brothers are collecting a portion of their earnings due to the contract in place, which is, I may add, still valid. Jesse Ventura then goes off on the Hart Foundation, wondering how stupid could they be to offer 25% of their contract when even the top Hollywood agents only receive about 10%. So Jesse letting the Harts have it here on commentary, giving Jimmy Hart 25% of their net. Crazy. But the Body, he loves the brilliant business sense from the heel side in that situation, which you might expect. Meanwhile, Rick Gantner takes the early beating by the Anvil, who just plows him over. Then it's Tom Stone's turn, as he's picked apart by both members of the Hart Foundation. Stone whipped into a nasty dropkick from the Hitman at one point, followed by the Anvil with his own standing dropkick to boot. From there, Bret Hart delivering a patented backbreaker before it's the Heart Attack, putting Tom Stone away, the Hitman getting the pin. 3 minutes and 25 seconds. The Hart Foundation look primed and ready for their upcoming matches with the fabulous Rougeaus. As we are ready to go back to the event center once again, Sean Mooney standing by. We're going to hear from Bobby the Brain Heenan with Andre the Giant. We're also going to hear from The Rock, Don Baracco.
We are back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. I'd like to take the opportunity now to speak about a man who's been in the World Wrestling Federation for some time. He has proven to be one tough competitor, and he has not settled the score yet with Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'm talking about The Rock, Don Baracco. And as we will see, there are a few things this man will not accept.
You know, as the dominoes of life fall down their way, down the path, no matter how they may go, experiences come, experiences go, but you never stop learning. You never stop experiences. Defeat is not an easy thing for me. I have never held hands with defeat. I have never been close to defeat. I I've never really known what defeat is, you see. So now, as you transgress from the dark side, spending all those years on the dark side, you learn something. You learn that sometimes that black horse, that horse of victory, doesn't always ride with you. So what do? You gotta go harder, you gotta be better, you gotta last longer, and you gotta be the best you can possibly be. Right here, you're looking at him every day getting better and better.
Don the Rock Morocco. He mentioned before he has been on the dark side. He plans to stay clear of the dark side of defeat. He has seen the light, and he hopes to follow that light all the way to the World Wrestling Federation Championship. You talk about the dark side. This man casts a large shadow on the World Wrestling Federation. He is Andre the Giant.
You know, I'm not so sure you humanoids are aware of this gentleman back here. This is the 8th wonder of the world. This man stands 7 feet 5, 520 pounds, has the largest arm reach in professional sports. Look at the size of those hands. Look at the size of my hands. I'm 6 foot tall, weigh 240. And look at the size of this man. He is undefeated since day one in professional wrestling of his career. Hulk Hogan was put out by this man. Hulk Hogan's championship was taken by this man.
That's right.
And this man is not going to be defeated by anybody.
You're right, and that's the way I want to stay undefeated. I will stay undefeated. Oh, well.
Andre the Giant, just looking at a few of his expressions there, you'd think he'd scare any opponent from signing the dotted line and stepping into the ring with that man. He is an awesome sight, the 8th wonder of the world, and deservedly so. He wants the World Wrestling Federation Championship title back. He will do anything to get it. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Well, Don Morocco says since leaving the dark side, The Rock has seen the light. He's learned new things. Well, I hope one of them was a new trade, because Don Morocco is actually fired in just a couple days from this airing. Don Morocco gone from the WWF here October of '88. Meanwhile, Andre claiming to still be undefeated. Well, defeated or not, Andre, you'll always be a top shelf name and a headliner here in the World Wrestling Federation. Bobby Heenan still backing his 8th wonder, who seems to be coming off his feud with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but a new one awaits him around the corner. As we continue on back to ringside, one-on-one action, going to see Leaping Lanny Poffo take on Terry Taylor, along with new manager Bobby the Brain Heenan. And in fact, Lanny Poffo has a poem for us all.
Terry Taylor's coming with the weasel at his side, and together they are reaching for the top. Bobby Heenan's going to show the world why he's called the Brain, if he can make a star of that conceited flop.
All right, so there you hear Leaping Laniel referring to Taylor as a conceited flop. Vince McMahon even laughing on commentary there. I'm sure he had something to do with that. And right now we're going to find out that he is Terry Taylor no more. Bobby Heenan about to rename Terrific Terry.
Terry Taylor being led towards the ring by his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan from Vero Beach, Florida. Weighing 240 pounds, Terry Taylor. You're dead wrong.
What?
And you're in a lot of trouble. But from this point on, Mr. Announcer, let's get something straight. He is no longer to be introduced as Terry Taylor. I've selected a new name for him. He will now be known as the Red Rooster. You got me straight?
The Red Rooster. Huh. He looks kind of like a rooster, the way he moves around and struts his good, so to speak. Uh-oh. Look out.
So there you hear it. The Brain taking the microphone to announce that from this day forward, Terry Taylor will be simply known as the Red Rooster. And so it begins here. We heard it last time out on Primetime Wrestling, but he does it in the ring here this time. Terry Taylor wrestling as the Red Rooster. We even get an insert promo here from the Brain, who tells us he's going to groom a man with limited ability, limited size, and even limited intelligence. Going to groom Terry Taylor into a champion. Bobby Heenan doubling down, referring to Taylor as his Little Red Rooster. He says, my Little Red Rooster. Believe it or not here, he says he's going to be a test for the Brain, but a test he will pass. I don't know how anyone with any sense can say this wasn't a complete burial of Terry Taylor. Even Lanny Poffo, the job guy in this instance, got to take a jab at Terry and was clearly given directive as to what to emphasize in that poem, referring to Taylor walking in as a flop. As we get lots of Bobby Heenan instructions here throughout the match, constantly shouting at the Rooster, dictating the matchup, even jumping up on the apron multiple times, poking at Terry, ordering from the brain here, telling the Rooster what to do at every strut. And as the action goes on, Taylor going to attack, land his patented jawbreaker, nice knee drop, double underhook suplex, and then Taylor looking over to his manager, asking Bobby, now? Getting permission before locking in the Scorpion Deathlock. And that's going to get the submission win for the Red Rooster here, 2 minutes and 36 seconds. The cock of the walk, poultry in motion, and all those other taglines. Terry Tate, the Red Rooster, gets the win. Cock-a-doodle-doo. As we roll on, guys, it's time this week for the Brother Love Show. His special guest, one Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. But look out, Jim. There's a surprise around the corner.
You don't like it just about as sincere as you can get, isn't it? You don't like it because he dresses better than you.
This week is a man who has no love.
You're going up, Vince?
No love for himself.
Except for your fault.
He has
among
no
other things.
love for his fellow man. And he has no love for his country. My guess at this time, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
It's Duggan, not Dugan. Oh, Hacksaw bringing his capacity crowd alive.
You show no love out of my face. Why is it that you show no love for your country, much like Brother Dino Bravo, a man who loves his country and shows it by bringing the flag of his country to the ring with him? Why do you not show your love for your country?
I've told you before, and I'll tell you again. Don't you ever question the patriotism of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Not when Duggan's blood has flowed to keep this country proud and free.
Oh, look right here. Look right here at this man coming here. Brother Dino Bravo. Take a look at those shoulders. Take a look at those great pectorals. Wow. Do you feel the power of the strongest man in the world?
There's no question Dino Bravo's a strong man, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan's no barbell. I'll fight back, tough guy.
Oh, look at the face of
There's
Bravo.
a lot of pride in being an American hero.
Look at that face.
Well, let me tell you, Hacksaw Duggan, how Frenchie and I feel about the United States of America and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I think you both stink, Duggan.
Duggan ain't doing nothing about it.
Hey, as that old cliche goes, baby, love it or leave it. And if you don't know the way to the border, Hacksaw Jim Duggan will be more than glad to show you. Tough guy.
Look out! Look out!
Come on, people! Let's show some USA pride! USA! USA!
Let's get past the crowd! Oh, ringing in the same ovation of USA! Hopefully on the way back to the border, Dino Bravo!
So Brother Love running down Duggan before he even gets introduced, claiming old Hacksaw has no love. No love for himself, no love for his fellow man, and certainly no love for his country. Introducing Duggan as Brother Dugan. That's Duggan. 2 G's, tough guy. Duggan then promptly storming out with a big ho to back Brother up, calling Love out for doubting the Hackers' patriotic support. And almost immediately upon joining the Brother Love set, Dino Bravo and Frenchie Martin also join the talk show. Frenchie waving the Quebec flag in the background, Dino getting in Duggan's face as they begin to exchange some words. Dino Bravo thinks both Hacksaw and America stink. Duggan telling Bravo to love it or leave it. Hacksaw admitting that Dino Bravo is a very strong man. Duggan will even go so far as to say that maybe he's not as strong as Dino Bravo, but Hacksaw is still no dumbbell and he will fight back. Tough guy. Duggan then offering to help Dino Bravo and Frenchie find their way back to the border. How kind. A little suggestive thread here as Duggan grabs his trusty 2x4, which sees all 3 of the heels run off the set as USA chants begin all the way throughout the crowd, and Duggan and Dino Bravo finally going nose to nose here on TV. So the feud continuing to escalate here between Dino Bravo and Jim Duggan, Quebec, Canada versus the United States. Heel versus face at the end of the day. And as long as I don't have to watch them two wrestle, I'm fine with this. As we go back to ringside, it is time to see the Outlaw Ron Bass step in the ring against Mike Richards. And Bass has some fun this week, threatening Richards with the Maverick Brothers, the Spurs, before the matchup. Jesse Ventura referring to them as Brett and Bart. Don't tell the Hitman. As commentary continues to push the issues between the Outlaw and the Barber, even a small beefcake chant breaks out among the fans during this one, as a complete mauling by the Outlaw here, landing his patented Texas pedigree, ends this one in just 1 minute and 24 seconds, and then post-match, Bass going to wrap Miss Betsy around the throat of Richards, pitch him over the top rope, and go for a hang-in. As dangerous as ever is Outlaw Ron Bass continuing to get heat here on TV as he continues to wrestle Beefcake on the house shows. Then from there, it's another Survivor Series ad, another quick in and out, 10-second bumper, and then straight back to the ring for our final match here on Superstars. Barry Horowitz in the ring, scheduled to take on the mighty Hercules. In his debut match as a babyface, his own man now. It's Hercules Unchained, Hercules Unleashed, and with his very own theme music. The trumpets begin to play. Mount Olympus opens his gates and out walks the mighty Hercules here. And as the match gets going, we get an insert promo from the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who says Hercules is in fact his slave. And Teddy will beat Hercules into his new position in life. Because Herc, you're bought and paid for. What a heel. Meanwhile, Barry Horowitz trying to charge Hercules early on, but the mythic hero sidesteps and goes to town. Awesome series of quick jabs here by Hercules. Big clothesline takes Horowitz down. The mighty one then going to revert back to his old finisher, putting Barry up in the human torture rack. The backbreaker going to get the submission win. 1 minute, 37 seconds. Hercules looking primed and ready for his babyface run. Ted DiBiase not backing down. He believes he owns the rights to Hercules. I believe the mighty one has another idea. matches to come between those two guys, but right now we head back to the event center. One more time here on Superstars. This time, we're going to hear from the likes of the former Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, and the Birdman, Koko B. Ware.
Welcome back to the event center. Who is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time? Well, the Honky Tonk Man still claims it's true, but he is no longer the Intercontinental Champion. The Ultimate Warrior is. He captured the title at SummerSlam 88, and as you can guess, the Honky Tonk Man is very upset about this situation. Right now, he is standing by with his manager, the Colonel.
Warrior, rip us off, rob us, baby. Where was Jack Tunney? How convenient he wasn't there. This is a conspiracy, Honky, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, look at the sweat pour off the Honky Tonk Man.
You.
You think I'm hot? You're right. You think I'm mad? You're right. You think I'm upset? Yes, sir. You think I'd like to see the Warrior wearing my belt? Do you think I'd like to hear that heavy metal music play and see something like that run out of the dressing room? Do you think that's what the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of all time, do you think that's what his friends and his fans want to see? No, they want to see the belt around my waist. They want to see me play the kind of music that only the Honky Tonk Man can play for you, Warrior. They want to see me get my belt, and I'm going to take it away from you.
He's singing more than just the blues in this one. He wants the Intercontinental title back, but I think the Ultimate Warrior likes the fit of that belt around his waist. The Honky Tonk Man has one tough task ahead of him. Also, the Birdman, Koko B. Ware. He's out there in the World Wrestling Federation, and he's high-flying.
Oh, yeah! You see, in the World Wrestling Federation, you got to keep on climbing and climbing and climbing. Frankie, take a good look up there, Frankie. What do you think about your beautiful picture, huh? Oh, yeah! You see, in the World Wrestling Federation, you got to take on all comers. Bigger they are, harder they fall. That's right, brother. You see, Dynamite comes in a very small package. Don't take me light. I'm talking about all of my opponents out there. Don't take me as a stepping stone, because if you do, you just might be in the surprise of your life. Because I feel all right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Koko B. Ware, high-flying out there on the World Wrestling Federation. You saw him right there with Frankie, and he wants to continue climbing the ladder to the top. He wants to be the World Wrestling Federation champion. The Birdman, Koko B. Ware, one of the superstars here in the World Wrestling Federation.
All right, so repeat, I believe, replay promo there from Koko. We've heard that one before about climbing to the top. But meanwhile, the Honky Tonk Man comparing the Ultimate Warrior's run as Intercontinental Champion, comparing it to heavy metal music. The Wild Warrior, of course, stating the fans they want to see Honky's style of music back on the top of the WWF. And when you think about it, it's kind of funny. If you know Honky's background, he once did a punk rock gimmick. But here the Elvis impersonator simply wants back what's rightfully his. Or so he thinks. Honky can clearly talk the talk, but can he walk the walk when he gets back in the ring with the Ultimate One? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, we conclude Superstars as we learn next week right here on the program. Lots of things going on, but maybe the biggest point to note, it is going to be the WWF TV debut of the Brainbusters. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard will be here right here next week on Superstars, and that means right here next week on The Grenade. Plus, Tito Santana stepping in the ring against frickin' Pork Chop Cash. We'll also see Jake the Snake Roberts, King Haku, the Powers of Pain, plus Akeem. And then from there, me and Gene Okerlund going to join us with the announcement of all of the co-captains heading into the Survivor Series. We're going to learn the co-captains of every match at the big pay-per-view. And if all of that wasn't enough, Brother Love with special guest Hulk Hogan. Oh man, I smell a monster angle alert coming for next week right here on The Grenade. You don't want to miss that one, guys. But right now, before we dip our toes into the following day in Wrestling Challenge, we're going to take this quick WrestleCopia timeout.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of the Grenade Show, Regional Wrestling, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive watch-along series covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, guys, and welcome back to the program. How about that big announcement? Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard right here next week in the World Wrestling Federation, right here next week on the Grenade. Looking forward to that as things continue to evolve here in the fall of 1988. Also going to learn more about the Survivor Series, the wrestlers, the talent involved, the matchups next week here. But right now we roll on to October 16th and WWF Wrestling Challenge. All right, here we go. Challenge for October 16th, tape back September 14th, Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville Gardens, Louisville, that is. Southerners out there will appreciate that. It's Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on commentary as we head to the ring to see the Dancing Akeem with manager Slick by his side. Akeem's opponent this week, Bob Emery. And hey guys, just a quick sidebar before we get going here with Challenge. Speaking of Akeem, just recently, in fact, this week on my social media over on X, also on Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. You can check it out. Akeem dancing to the ring with the returning king, Harley Race. Harley Race dancing his way to the ring with Akeem over in Rome, Italy. I uploaded the entrance on social media. Everybody having a blast watching Harley Race enjoy himself, doing a little jive walking. Harley Race. Unbelievable, guys. But right now we head back to challenge Akeem in the ring, taking on Bob Emery. We even get another insert promo this week from the Slickster and his man Akeem. More of the same as what we've been seeing as of late. Some find it entertaining, some find it insulting, some are indifferent. But right now Akeem is in the ring, and as he removes his daishiki, he tries for a little moonwalk. Michael Jackson, you are not. In fact, Michael Hayes, you are not, Akeem. But A for effort here as Akeem tries to do a little moonwalk and delivering a quick beatdown on Emery here with a little dancing in between, delivering that patented gourd buster of his. His old finisher is the gang, which Gorilla Monsoon points out here. It's the only thing that hasn't changed about the one-man gang character is his finisher. But Akeem gonna pull Emery up from the cover because he's not done yet. Bouncing off the ropes, delivering his new finisher here for the WWF. The 747 Splash. Air Africa. 450 plus pounds, nearly 500 pounds down on top of Emery, and you better believe it's over. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Akeem going over there. As we continue on with the program, time for a special interview. Mean Gene Okerlund up on the platform with Jake the Snake Roberts.
All right, truly one of the premier superstars of the World Wrestling Federation, my guest this week. Jake Roberts, I don't like what I've seen in the past, the things that have been happening between you and ravishing Rick Rude, and I can appreciate family, I really can.
You know, it's a big difference between business and getting personal. And Rick Rude, you had a chance at one time to back off, my man. You made the mistake, you picked the wrong woman. But you could have backed off right then. You could have let it all gone. You didn't have to reach out and grab her, push her down on her knees like some big tough man. You want to show her something. You want to show the whole world what kind of man you are. And if that's not enough, he starts wearing these silly little tights. But we know what happens when you wear tights around me, my man. And my man, that's not going to change. If you want to go out and buy another pair of tights and put my wife's picture on them, that's fine, because I'm going to tear them off of him again, too.
I've seen that, Jake. I've seen it, truly.
But here's the bottom line, Rick Rude. You see, we're not talking about fighting for a pile of money, and we're not talking about fighting for a strap of gold. Brother, we're talking about what I live with every day, every moment of my life. What makes me feel good.
Inspiration.
And we're talking about Cheryl, baby, please come on up here, darling. Cheryl.
Oh, no. The wife of Jake the Snake Roberts. Please make welcome the lovely Cheryl Roberts.
And she is indeed lovely. Well, remind me never to send you out to get me a date.
You see, Rick Rude, this is what makes it worthwhile for me. This is what I strive for. This is what I try to keep happy within myself. But you see, Rick Rude, from now on, each and every time we face, she's going to be at ringside, because if I DDT you, and I will, she's going to slap your nasty, filthy face again, my man.
Oh, I love it. Cheryl will be at ringside for all of your matches, Jake.
Every one of them. If I've got you on the dotted line, Rick Rude, she's going to be right there. And my man, she's going to slap you, because you know something? Of everything you want, you need that the worst. And something else, I mean, you give me a break, huh? You have the guts to call yourself ravishing?
Ravishing?
My man, you're not ravishing. This is ravishing, huh?
That is ravishing.
Yeah.
You know something, Rick Rude? It's all mine. Eat your heart out, my man.
Whoa, eat your heart out, ravishing Rick.
Before I kiss her, I'd rather kiss a hospital mop.
Will you stop? Plenty more, still to come. We'll be right back.
So the Snake Man reiterating what we already know. Rick Rude made a big mistake and picked the wrong woman to mess with. Roberts continues to vow to strip Rude of any tights with his wife's likeness on them. Speaking of, Jake then welcoming out the real ravishing one, talking about his wife, Cheryl Roberts, joining him on the interview platform. Jake promising that Cheryl will slap Rude across the face after he suffers the DDT. And that's actually what is happening right now on all the house shows during this time period. So it checks out. Basically selling Cheryl going to be in Jake's corner for the final leg of this feud, which has been ongoing since right after WrestleMania 4. But you know what? The crowd still eating it up. Says a lot for all the talent involved and the great storylines that they continue to escalate with. But right now, after another Survivor Series plug, the action rolls on. Back to the ring, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase with bodyguard Virgil. DiBiase's opponent, David Isley. In his sparkly money green suit this week, DiBiase preparing for battle. The announcers using this match to sell the recent Heenan Hercules DiBiase storyline. Gorilla says that Bobby sold Herc up the river, brain. Bobby suggesting that he had that ungrateful Hercules set for life with his new job as DiBiase's servant, his slave. As the $1 Million Man dominates the action here, he talks in an insert promo, promising that Hercules will still become his slave, because again, he is bought and paid for. As the action continues on, the $1 Million Man with a falling fist drop, nasty clothesline on the apron, sends Isley off the apron with a big splat on the mat outside. Great bump there from Isley. Then once back in the ring, the patented DiBiase power slam, setting up the $1 Million Dream for the win. 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Ted DiBiase paid the brain for the services of Hercules, and damn it, he plans to collect. As we go off now back to the event center, this time Sean Mooney going to speak with the likes of Outlaw Ron Bass, and speaking of the man, the mighty Hercules.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney, and we are back at the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. A lot happening out there in the World Wrestling Federation. A hot situation brewing between the Outlaw Ron Bass and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. It is far from over. Right now, the big bad Texan is standing by, and believe it or not, he has a message for the Barber.
You know, you look at the big old Outlaw, and you can tell right off the bat that he's a down-to-earth, big, shy, decent, sensitive guy. And why would somebody like Brutus the Barber Beefcake want to jump on this gentle giant and kind of get his dandruff up? Because Mr. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, when you were just a little bitty kid, your mama dropped you on your head and you lost every good lick of sense that you had. Because now then, you got the dandruff the big Outlaw up. Now then, you got to face the Bass Man. And you don't only have to face me. You got Miss Betsy. You got the Maverick Brothers. And let me tell you, we got you out, man. We got you outgunned. We got you out everything, son. Look out, Beefcake.
The Outlaw Ron Bass. He's one tough desperado. He's rounding up the posse for this encounter with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I'm talking about Miss Betsy and, of course, the Spurs, Bo and Bart Maverick. He is the property of no one. I'm talking about the mighty Hercules, and he cannot wait to meet the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
I was cast out, left alone. Weasel, he sold me out to a man like Ted DiBiase. That wasn't just a piece of paper, man. That was my life. I served you, Bobby Heenan. I served you because I wanted to. I served you because I trusted you. You let me down. Ted DiBiase, I'm no man's slave. I've got my pride. I've got my self-respect. There's no way that you will ever see the day. In your wildest dreams, can you make me bow down? Accept you as my master. I am no man's slave. I walk alone. You will be the one to pay the price.
The mighty Hercules, he will now walk alone, and he is going to face the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, a man who believes the mighty one is his slave. The mighty Hercules, betrayed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. One thing he truly believes in, those chains around his neck will never hold him in slavery. He is the mighty Hercules. Watch for him here in the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, the decent, sensitive guy that Outlaw Ron Bass is, why would Brutus Beefcake want to get his dandruff up? I believe that's dander, Outlaw, but Ron Bass continues to taunt the Barber with Miss Betsy and the Maverick Brothers. Meanwhile, Hercules talks having self-respect. He would never lower himself to act as a slave. Well, I mean, you work for Vince, Herc. Even still, Hercules insists that it is Ted DiBiase who will pay the price. Gotta love it, Hercules. Not going to stand idly by and wait for DiBiase to come after him. Hercules going to defend himself, his self-respect. He welcomes the challenge of the $1 Million Man. As I welcome tag team action, featuring the Rockers up next. Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty taking on Tom Burton and Bubba Kirk. as the heel jobber is going to attack the tag team specialists, but the Rockers quickly turn the tide, clear the ring with multiple drop kicks. Nice double team work, per the usual, from the Rockers here. Michael's going to put Kirk away, diving splash off of partner Jannetty's shoulders, going to give the Rockers a relatively quick win, 1 minute and 54 seconds. And then from there, it's plug time, this time for the WWF Superstars 3 magazine. Always a little time to sell some merch here on the program. Then back to the ring for singles action involving Greg the Hammer Valentine with manager Jimmy Hart by his side. The Hammer's opponent, David Studemeyer. Now, last week, Valentine had renamed his figure 4 the Heartbreaker, but this week we learn it's actually going to be his shin guard that is dubbed the Heartbreaker. Now, that makes sense. The announcers bring up Studemeyer's ethnic appearance here. Gorilla feels he looks Indian, like a young Chief J. Strongbow. Bobby Heenan quipping, there's no such thing as a young Strongbow. Meanwhile, the action rolls on. Studemeyer starts off with a pair of arm drags, but Greg going to take right back over. Top rope, standing elbow drop, followed by a lazy man suplex. Big hammer elbow drop. From there, Greg Valentine going to work the leg of Studemeyer before applying that shin guard assisted Heartbreaker figure 4 for the immediate submission win as soon as it's applied. Studemeyer going to give it up, and the hammer goes over. 2 minutes and 1 second. Now, we do know Valentine's been feuding with Don Morocco in recent months. However, Morocco pretty much gone from the company at this point. But don't you worry, guys. Valentine going to find himself a new foe very soon, and that feud going to go on for nearly a year. As we go back to the ring once again, it is Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, taking on Brian Costello. And I'm not entirely sure what the fuck the Warrior is doing to Costello up against those ropes here. You'll have to judge for yourself if you can find the video, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anywho, the Warrior Man with a very dangerous backdrop, kind of tossing Costello across the ring. Not so safe, but not really surprised either. The Warrior going to grab Brian by his wrist and swing him around in circles, swinging him by his arm before tossing Costello out to the floor, only to help Brian back inside, carry him up the steps, and toss him back in. How kind. Once back in the ring, the Warrior Man with a big clothesline, followed by the Gorilla Press drop and the big splash. Going to give the IC champ the win. 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Honky Tonk Man still gunning for the Ultimate Warrior all across the house shows, but it appears as of now, Warrior still retains the championship. As the show rolls on here, challenge with special report with Lord Alfred Hayes. It's a replay from last week's Brother Love's show where Bobby Heenan acquires the services of Terry Taylor, who we now know as the Red Rooster. And then it's back to the ring for tag team action. Jimmy Powers and Paul Roma back together again. It would seem the Young Stallions out here taking on the duo of Sandy Beach and Iron Mike Sharp. Whoa, that's a couple of big boys. Apparently back together again, just in time for the Survivor Series, are the Young Stallions. Sandy Beach going to rake Roma's eyes, try to take over early on, but Paul comes back. Very impressive. Single leap, no hands, from the mat straight to the top rope for a springboard reverse body block. That's only going to get Paul a 2 count, as Jimmy Powers tagging in with a slingshot sunset flip. Also gets himself a 2. Sandy Beach finally landing a slam, able to tag out to Iron Mike, but Sharp almost immediately missing an elbow drop, no doubt re-injuring that bad arm of his. Then from there, the comedic shouting follows during a crisscross spot between Powers and Sharp. Lots of shouting there from the Iron Man. Lots of comedy as the Stallions take over, landing some basic double team moves until Jimmy Powers lifting Sharp up in sort of a bear hug position. Paul Roma off the top rope, missile drop kick. Going to give the Young Stallions the win. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Very impressive this week, specifically Paul Roma. And as he lands that missile drop kick, another backflip in midair. Just super dangerous. You don't need to do that, Paul. But the Young Stallions go over heading into the pay-per-view. And let the record continue. The perfect streak, if you will, of Mr. Perfect vignettes. We've seen 5 of them already. And this one going to make number 6. Curt Hennig shooting hoops, a.k.a. Mr. Perfect, playing basketball.
Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. And yes, I am perfect in every way. In fact, when I was born, the doctor handed me to my mother, and the very first word out of her mouth was, perfect. What else?
But today I would like you to join me as I demonstrate perfect form on the basketball court. Don't you wish you could be like me? Perfect? I'm talking about Mr. Perfect.
So there it was. Kurt Hennig sinking shots, the no-look hook, half-court swish. And for the final shot, a blind shot, tossing the ball over his head. Nothing but net. Absolutely perfect. Mr. Perfect, coming soon. Love these vignettes as we go back to the ring for the Canadian strongman Dino Bravo with manager Frenchie Martin. Dino's opponent this week, Tommy Angel. We get an insert video here. We actually hear from the fans as they express their disdain for Dino, telling him to go back to Canada and stay there, both of you. Meanwhile, Tommy Angel surprising Bravo with a hip toss early on, but Dino catching a crossbody attempt, dropping Angel across the top rope. Ugh, rough landing there for Angel, as it is an inverted atomic drop, big nasty pile driver, and the patented side suplex. Gonna give Dino the win, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. As we finish up here this week, we learn next week on Wrestling Challenge, we're going to be seeing the likes of the Honky Tonk Man, as well as the Blue Blazer, Bad News Brown, Sam Houston going to be here, the fabulous Rougeau brothers also on the card, as well as the Outlaw Ron Bass, plus a special interview with tag team champions Demolition. Maybe we'll learn a little more about the Survivor Series or maybe their next feud. We'll have to wait and see as we continue on. One more piece of business here this week on the Grenade Guys, and I'm talking about the October 18th edition of the WWF's Primetime Wrestling.
I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
I wonder.
You wonder, huh?
You've been AWOL for a week now.
I've been out traveling the country apologizing for your behavior in a lot of places, which I will mention later on in the program in length.
Well, you're going to embarrass me now.
Well, I don't have to do that. You do that all by yourself.
You don't have to make any apologies for me. I've done nothing wrong.
What's the feature match this week? Don't have a clue, do you?
Yes, I do. Ravishing Rick Rude and Fred Sanford of wrestling. The Junkyard Dog. Voila.
Brought to us by whom? Courtesy of whom?
Coliseum Video. How am I doing?
Not too bad. You might have learned something. What's our opening match?
Opening match is Hillbilly Jim against Haku, my man the king.
You have any surprises?
Why don't you just take a rubber hose out and work me over? You've asked me
why
25
don't I just leave? You seem to have everything well under control.
Why don't you just leave?
How did you... once again,
where are you going?
My apologies to Vince McMahon for having to put up with this piece of work here.
It wasn't easy either. You can ask the crew.
You're never easy. I don't know whether I'm even going to go to Vegas with you or not.
Next day, we're going to Paris. That'll be a fun trip.
Like the last one. I had to take money out of my pocket to bail you out.
That was because of Frenchie did not have a driver's license over there. That's what happened.
Had nothing to do with driver's license, I guarantee you. Don't be pulling it, especially in Vegas.
John's picking me up, my buddy, Bela Lugosi.
You mean John Canglosi, not Bela.
Close enough.
Yeah, he's picking you up, huh?
I like when he picks me up. He always says to me when he pulls the car up, good evening.
Oh, will you stop? We've got excitement indeed this week here on Primetime Wrestling, and let's open it up as we take you to Boston Garden as Hillbilly Jim takes on the newly crowned king.
All right, in the intro this week, we see that Gorilla Monsoon is back alongside the Brain. Gorilla immediately apologizing to Vince McMahon for having to put up with Bobby Heenan here last week on the program. Still showing the matches from SummerSlam as well, it would seem. This week, Rick Rude and the Junkyard Dog from the pay-per-view. But I'm sure a lot of people are glad they purchased SummerSlam only to see 90% of the matches aired here for free, or at least on basic cable TV. As we go on, lots of promotion for some upcoming pay-per-view events. As Gorilla tells us, November is going to be a happening.
It's going to be a happening Survivor Series. In fact, November, Brain, is going to be one heck of a month for all those pay-per-viewers out there and those guys with the big dishes in the backyard. November 7th, Las Vegas, Nevada, Caesar's Palace.
We go to France, then come back for...
I'm not looking forward to that at all. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving night for Survivor Series.
Sure, you get the drumstick.
Well,
we're back.
So, go ahead. Can you see I'm busy
What are
here?
you writing?
I'm marking down all these derogatory things you had to say about Sugar Ray so that when we meet face to face with him, I won't forget any of it. Punchy.
Believe me.
Over the hill. Cyclops. You made all those remarks, didn't you? You're talking about a guy who was 3 times world champion. You're talking about a guy who retired 3 times, came back 3 times and did it, and is about to do it a 4th time.
So you're gonna. Boy, I bet you were great in class.
Yeah.
Teacher.
I'm going to tell them.
You know what Bobby did over here? You know what Bobby did over here?
Weasel did it,
Boy,
yes.
I bet you couldn't wait to tell on people.
He's going to make history because he could be the holder of 5 titles, Brain, in this one night, November 7th, because 2 titles are up for grabs.
Or he could go from the ring to the hospital as quick as the Warrior goes from the dressing room to the ring.
Will you stop?
Could happen. If he messes with me.
Lalonde's light heavyweight titles on the line, plus the new super middleweight.
A happening indeed. We've got Sugar Ray Leonard and Donnie Lalonde November 7th. Big boxing fight. 5 titles on the line between the 2 men. And of course, the Survivor Series returning Thanksgiving night, Richfield Coliseum. And we even hear Gorilla stating that he's going to relay some of the comments that the Brain has recently made about one Sugar Ray, referring to him as Punchy and Cyclops. We'll have to see how Leonard responds to that. Up next on Primetime Wrestling, exclusive matchup, taped October 5th, Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the Allen County War Memorial. Going to see B. Brian Blair over Barry Horowitz. Match goes about 8 minutes. Blair scoring the win with an airplane spin and an elbow drop. Now, I will say this, add a little context, guys. If you go back and watch this matchup on Primetime, something seems off. Something seems amiss for the last couple minutes of the matchup. Barry Horowitz not really in position for a lot of the stuff that's going on. Makes me wonder if maybe he was knocked a little loopy at some point because nothing was really in sync from either man. But Brian Blair performing a lackluster-looking airplane spin as if it's very believable when you do it perfectly. But we hear right now, coming out of the matchup, Brian Blair defeating Barry Horowitz. We're going to hear Gorilla and Bobby's take on the match, the ugly finish, and a shout-out to Terry Garvin's School of Self-Defense.
Well, Blair had more trouble with Horowitz than I anticipated.
Would you see the airplane spin he used to finish him? Like one of the engines was out.
It was kind of jerky going around there. Maybe that's a different
No, it's just a
version
jerk. It's
of
a
it.
jerk doing it.
Well, maybe that's one of the, Horowitz has been improving. Let's be realistic. He came out of the Terry Garvin, Pat Patterson School of Self-Defense, and he knows his ins and outs, and he knows his way around.
It's good enough credentials for me.
Just like Sugar Ray knows his way around that squared circle.
He better keep moving. This Donnie Lalonde is almost, he's a lot bigger than Robinson.
Well, so what does that mean?
Sugar Ray Robinson's the other guy.
Yeah, he's the baseball player. What does that mean? Are you saying that a good little man can't beat a good big man?
Well, a good little man will always give a good big man a tough fight, but in the end, the good big man will always beat the good little man. Or like Leonard, like I predict.
You don't have a clue what you're talking about, do you?
It'll take a good man to beat Leonard, but it won't take him long.
Yeah, I'll mark that down too. We'll discuss that when we sit down with Sugar Ray. We'll be right back after
What
this.
are you trying to start?
All right, so both men, Bobby and the Gorilla, both mocking the matchup, mocking the finish, talking about that airplane spin. Bobby Heenan says it looked a little rough. Maybe one of the engines were out. Gorilla didn't necessarily defend Brian Blair there either. Meanwhile, they do put over Barry Horowitz, who's been getting better in recent months because he's part of the Terry Garvin and Pat Patterson School of Self-Defense. As they quip, he knows his ins and outs. And then, of course, more hard sell there for the Sugar Ray Leonard, the big boxing event coming in just about 3 weeks' time. And we've got one more soundbite for you here, guys. Bobby Heenan gives some advice to Mike Tyson.
Now there's a guy that's handsome and sexy. Couple of more segments like that of Brother Love, and that'll be the end of him.
Well,
one guy
dangerous.
chased those 3 pieces of garbage out of there.
One guy in a board, a weapon. That's just the way he operates.
Giant killer. It's a giant killer stick.
No, it's not a giant killer. He sucker punched a giant with a board. You saw it. Speaking of sucker
knocked
punches.
him right out. You better put those gloves away before they get you in trouble.
Let's you and I go a couple.
You don't want to fool with me with gloves.
You know, I remember when I was telling Tyson how to prepare for the fight.
You were telling Tyson how to
Yep,
prepare?
I told him, I said, take her down the basement and stay with the body punches. That's what I told him. But no, he had to throw the furniture through the window, and the cops came, and, you know.
Sure, now you're trying to get some of his money, right? What
Some of his money.
The $1 Million Man that well run dry for you, or what?
What do you think, I just tap on different sources?
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. Well, you read my mind pretty well.
Well, I know what you're implying. You're always trying to tell these poor humanoids I'm some kind of a backstabber, a slave trader, no good, low-life human being.
Adjectives. We'll be back with our feature matchup this week on Prime Time in just a moment, so don't you dare
He could have given a mother-in-law a pop, too, you know.
All right, so coming out of the Brother Love segment with Dino Bravo and Hacksaw Duggan, the one we saw on Superstars, Gorilla pointing out that one guy and a board chased all of them away. Brother Love, Dino Bravo, Frenchie, Martin, Gorilla referring to Duggan as the giant killer. Bobby Heenan calls it, well, it was a sucker punch with a 2x4. But speaking of sucker punches, Bobby says he'd like to go a couple of rounds with the Gorilla. Boy, I'd love to see that old stick and jab Heenan stepping in the ring with Gorilla Monsoon. Put the boxing gloves on. Let's do it right now, guys. Bobby Heenan says he even gave Mike Tyson some training advice recently. He told Mike to take her down in the basement and stay with body punches. But no, we had to throw things through the windows. The police were called, yada, yada. Now, for those who don't know what Bobby's referencing, I encourage you to go back and Google the situation between Mike Tyson and Robin Givens from this time period. To say Bobby's comments here about take her down in the basement and stick with the body punches, well, it'd probably get you canceled today. As we wrap up Primetime Wrestling, just one more exclusive matchup this week, also taped October 5th in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Going to see the Blue Blazer defeat Jose Estrada in a matchup going 7 minutes, 37 seconds. The Blazer going over with the top rope moonsault in a matchup featuring two of the best junior heavyweights of their different eras. Jose Estrada, now more commonly known as one half of the Conquistadors, here this week without the mask. It's the Blue Blazer under the hood, though, getting the win there. To conclude Primetime Wrestling, guys, of course, Rick Rude also wrestling Junkyard Dog from SummerSlam as the feature match this week. And then Bobby Heenan going to get cute, put on some boxing gloves, and challenge Gorilla Monsoon. But as Bobby turns to talk on the phone, he turns back, Gorilla with some gorilla-sized boxing gloves, threatening to deck the brain. The comedy ensues, and Primetime Wrestling comes to a conclusion. And that's going to conclude the Grenade as well this week, guys. Had a blast talking another week in and out of the WWF here in October of 1988. We still have 2 more weeks of October TV to get through, and then Saturday night's main event right around the corner as well. Some really good stuff happening. Big Angle alert next week, plus the Brain Busters going to debut. All of that and so much more as we head in to the Survivor Series. But for now, we wrap it up, guys. Just a quick reminder, stop over to WrestleCopia.com. Check out all the great podcasts here on the network. Hit me up. Follow me on X at Wrestling Grenade. Also, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And last but certainly not least, very helpful if you want to help support the brand beyond just listening to the program. Leave us those 5-star ratings out there on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. But also, be sure to join Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. The address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We've got the $5 all access tier with plenty of great gifts for just $5 of support. But if you have a couple extra bucks to spare, the VIP Superfan tier is where it's at, because that's where you can find all of the great video casts here as part of WrestleCopia, the Coliseum videocast with Gene Jackson, the Pro Wrestling Academy videocast with Dan Ginnity, and so much more. Check it out right now, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Help me pay the bills. Let's keep this train ride going another year. But for now, we're going to wrap it all up, guys. Be back next week. Huge angle with Hulk Hogan on the Brother Love show once again. Arn and Tully are going to be here. Various other feuds going to continue to escalate. And I have it on good authority, by the end of next week's episode, we very well may know every matchup for the upcoming Survivor Series pay-per-view. So stay tuned for that and so much more, guys. But for now, time to wrap it up this week. Be back soon. Another week of October 88 WWF TV right around the corner. But for now, this is Ray Russell saying, from pillar to post and coast to coast, you pull the pin and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. See you next week. Don't miss it. Be there!
Co-captains Team Survival. The World Wrestling Federation presents the Survivor Series, where teams of 5 strive to survive. Coming to you live Thanksgiving night, November the 24th, exclusively on pay-per-view.